Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into a massive systemic issue that honestly plagues industrial operations everywhere. Our core mission today? We are going to talk about transforming your maintenance planning from the state of constant reactive chaos into a streamlined machine of proactive efficiency. So, if you've ever felt like your maintenance department is literally running on a treadmill just to keep up, well, you're in the right place. Let's get into it.
Now, this is the ultimate operational headache, isn't it? Management pulls their absolute best technicians off the tools, sits them down at a desk, and magically bestows this title of planner on them. Poof! Delays are supposed to vanish, right? But let's be real. So many departments with dedicated planners still constantly struggle with the exact same delays, the exact same fires, and the same daily frustrations. So why does this paradox even exist? Well, the hard truth is that they are trapped in a vicious cycle of chasing parts. When a crew starts a job and suddenly realizes, hey, we need different materials, or we're missing some crucial info, what do? They run straight to the planner. And the planner, obviously wanting to be a helpful team player, drops everything to go hunt down those parts or that data. But here's the thing. Relying on planners to solve these real-time problems completely sabotages the entire system. Every single minute a planner spends fighting today's fires is a minute stolen from planning tomorrow's success. Think about this like an effectiveness plateau. When planners are just chasing parts for jobs that are already underway, sure, effectiveness bumps up a little bit at first because the techs are getting some immediate help, but you hit a hard ceiling pretty fast. It plateaus because every single job just remains a brand new emergency. True effectiveness only really surges when planners completely stop helping with work in progress and shift 100% of their focus to future work. Section 1. The paradigm shift. Principle 2. To get that surge in effectiveness, we have to change the rules. We have to draw a hard line in the sand between work in progress and future work. Under the old habit, planners were basically rescuing jobs that were already happening. In this new paradigm, technicians and crew supervisors absolutely must figure out current problems themselves. Exactly like they did before the planning department even existed. Meanwhile, planners are strictly forbidden from touching ongoing jobs. Their one and only responsibility is to prep the path for future work so that next week's schedule is locked, loaded, and ready for flawless execution. To make this stick, the boundaries have to be crystal clear. What exactly counts as future work? It's simply defined as any work where the crew has not yet been assigned to start on the work order. The second a wrench turns, or the moment a crew is handed that specific assignment, boom, it's no longer future work. It is work in progress. And at that exact moment, the planner has to step away. Having this strict boundary is the absolute only way to keep planners out of that parts chasing trap.
Section 2. The tapered bearing dilemma. Let's ground this in reality for a second. Picture this. A technician is assigned to replace a pump bearing. They get out to the field, set up, try to pull it, and nothing. It won't budge. They spend the entire morning struggling, trying different tools, getting completely frustrated. Finally, through sheer, painful trial and error, they realize there's this almost imperceptible taper in the design. The bearing can only be removed from the inboard side. They get it done, sure, but they've just wasted a perfectly good morning doing it the hard way. Now, here's how we fix that wasted time permanently. A brilliant little cycle of do job, learn, feedback, and plan. The technician did the job and learned a really painful lesson about that taper, but if that knowledge just stays in the technician's head, the next guy is going to waste his entire morning too. The magic only happens when that hard-won knowledge is captured as feedback and then practically weaponized by the planner for future jobs. Here's exactly how the mechanics of that work. First, the tech writes down their feedback about that inboard taper on the work order. Second, the planner gets this and files it away. Third, maybe this is 2 whole years later. That same pump needs maintenance. The planner pulls the file, sees the note, and adds a huge warning to the new job plan. Must be removed from inboard side. Fourth, the new crew sees this before they even turn a wrench, entirely avoiding that wasted morning. A quick piece of feedback from the past literally just saved hours of labor in the future. Which brings us right into Section 3, the planner as file clerk. Okay, I know. The planner, to a large degree, is essentially a file clerk for the technician. Calling your highly skilled expert a file clerk sounds kind of insulting at first, doesn't it? A lot of companies start these planning groups expecting their experts to magically build flawless plans from scratch every single time. But honestly, that's a total misconception. The planner's true power isn't about predicting the future from a blank slate. It's all about curating your plan's specific local history. Let's break down why expecting perfection from scratch is a total setup for failure.
A planner supporting 20 to 30 technicians literally cannot research every single job from square one. They would completely drown in the workload. Plus, think about it, manufacturer equipment manuals don't know your specific local inventory quirks or your plant's unique safety permitting realities. The field technicians are the ones who have to act as the researchers, discovering these realities on the ground. The planner is the curator, saving and then reissuing that priceless feedback.
This leads to such a brilliant reframe. Planning is essentially a post-mortem on a job plan. The planner is analyzing what happened after the job was completed. They're acting like investigators, asking, okay, what actually happened out there? What parts did you really use? What went sideways? By running this post-mortem, they aren't fighting today's fires. They are literally building a smoother future for the entire plant.
All right, section 4, the math of repetition.
Now, I know exactly what some of you are thinking. I hear this objection all the time. Our equipment never breaks the same way twice, or nothing is ever the same here. And look, it's totally understandable to feel that way when you're in the thick of it every week. But when we actually pull back and look at the hard data, that perception is completely false. Let's look at the math that proves almost all maintenance work repeats itself.
Get a load of this first statistic. We call it the 50% rule. If a piece of equipment requires work today, there is a 50% chance it will require similar, if not the exact same work, again, within just 12 months. Think about that for a second. Half of the headaches your team is dealing with today are going to be right back on your plate within a year. Oh, and by the way, that doesn't even factor in standard preventative maintenance.
And it gets even crazier if we look a little further down the road. The 80% rule tells us there is an 80% chance that the equipment will be worked on again within a 5-year period. I mean, that completely shatters the myth that these tasks aren't repetitive. Over the lifespan of a plant, the vast majority of your jobs are going to circle right back around.
So why are these numbers so incredibly high? Well, first off, you have infant mortality, which just means after any work is done, there's a higher chance of early failure because of a faulty part or a slight error in how it was installed. Second, if you have 10,000 pieces of equipment, you usually have a small fraction, maybe 300, bad actors that demand constant attention. And finally, plants operate for 30+ years. Over 3 decades, repetition isn't just likely, it's an absolute guarantee. Ignoring your historical feedback isn't just a minor oversight, it's a massive missed opportunity.
Finally, Section 5, the snowball of improvement. So, let's tie all of this together. If you follow Principle 2, you create this unstoppable snowball of improvement. The rules are simple. Planners never, ever help with jobs in progress. Technicians step up to troubleshoot real-time issues, and crucially, they provide feedback when they finish. The planners take that feedback, run their postmortem, and use it to build airtight future plans. As this repeats, the snowball just picks up momentum. Every repeated job gets faster, gets safer, and totally bypasses the delays of the past.
Which leaves us with one final critical question for you to ask about your own operation. Take a hard look at your planners this week. Is your team chasing today's parts, spinning their wheels on work in progress, or are they truly planning tomorrow's success? The choice you make here is going to dictate the entire future efficiency of your plant. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I hope this gave you exactly what you need to go out there and start building that snowball of improvement today.